think we're going to talk this evening about dealing with difficult emotions and what to do at that particular amount of time. So these are what I would call emotionally charged thoughts. So usually it's not, so it's kind of like, how do we say it? We would like to believe that human beings are rational beings. But the reality is, our reason, our thinking, is directly linked to emotion. So what we think up here becomes reflected in the body down below. And this is especially true when there's emotionally charged content. So you end up with thoughts that are linked to some really, really strong emotion. So whether it's fear, worry, anxiety, what other ones are there? Anger. So when overwhelmed by this, what tends to happen is there's a strong identification. One basically loses oneself in the thought, in the situation. Everything becomes enmeshed, right? So that particular point in time, essentially awareness narrows to a single perception. So it's kind of like, I love it, it was described by a teacher once beautifully. It says, you could be on a beautiful beach, the waves, perfect day, and then you get in an argument with someone over something. And then the waves disappear, the beach disappears, and all that's left is the argument. Awareness narrows. So what to do when caught in that? So the instinctive reaction is expression. So those people who are, let's say, have anger management problems, they tend to express their anger overly, right? That's one extreme. And then there are people who suppress the situation because they don't necessarily want to express, or they've been taught over time that it's not safe for them to express their anger and other emotions. So they do a lot of suppression. In both cases, right, there's a strong, you could say, reaction to that emotion. And that's the same with anxiety and fear. Worry is once that cycle starts of worry, one sort of falls unconsciously into it, and it kind of lures you into trying to solve it. It's kind of like that's the hook, just like the fish on a lure. So the mind's hook is it's got this matter, this feeling of anxiety, this focus on a particular problem, and then all of a sudden it's got you hooked. And the more and more you struggle, that it's kind of like the deeper the hook gets into you, right? Because that's kind of what happens, is that you keep trying to solve it. The harder you try to solve it, the more difficult it becomes. Multiple solutions, the more anxiety you feel about it, and then it just sort of sits there. And then you may try to suppress it for a while, you may try to, avoid it, either by avoiding the situation in your life, or distracting the mind, or numbing it with medication, alcohol or television, something to basically escape from that feeling, to push it away. So these are the instinctive, I would say very instinctive, very common ways of coping with these difficult emotional tendencies. And when I say they're common, doesn't mean they're necessarily the most functional, but for most of us, to whatever extent we do it in a socially acceptable, functional way, right? So, how to deal with this? So really, it's beginning to lose faith, because all of this is based on belief. So I'm going to lose faith in what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling by observation. So it sounds simple intellectually, but it's just sort of observing it lightly without trying to push it away. You may get caught in it. It may come up again. That's okay, because even after you get caught up in it and it happens again, there'll be a moment of choice. There's always a moment of choice. This is why every emotional state, every situation is bound by time. So no matter what, you cannot stay angry forever. You cannot stay depressed forever. You cannot be worried forever. There's always a point of awareness. At that point of awareness, you're no longer enmeshed with the worry. And you'll see that every so often. You'll catch yourself, oh, I'm worried. Or there's worry going on. Now at that particular point in time, the tendency is, again, oh, worry is a problem. Let me try to solve it. Let me try to... So then I put more energy into worry, and the problem grows, right? Again, it's based on the misperception. Because in the physical world, for example, if there's a physical danger, I don't know, a fire near you, let's say my computer caught on fire at this particular moment, physically it would be protective to push the fire away or to deal with it, suppress it, right? Fire suppression is a very wise thing to do physically. Anger suppression is not a wise thing to do emotionally, because fire exists in the physical world and therefore is subject to physical laws. Anger and any emotion doesn't exist in the physical world. It is simply a creation of mind. So, if mind is creating it, and mind is suppressing it, and then mind is creating it again, and mind is suppressing it, which mind wins? It's kind of like arm wrestling yourself. Okay? Who wins? It's futile, because you're actually in charge of both arms. The same way, the anger rising is you, the one suppressing is you. There's no other party at work here. It's an inside game. So simply fighting with it only increases its power over you. Because that which is not real, meaning real in the physical world, it's not real in the physical world. Anger is not physical. It's not actually real. It's based on emotion. It's based on thinking. There is no inherent reality to anger. I'm not saying you're not feeling what you're feeling. Don't misunderstand. What I'm saying is there's no inherent reality to it as far as anger goes. And therefore, suppression or expression simply binds you to it. Because the more you focus on a particular issue, the more it defines the thinking process. The more it defines the thinking process, the more central that issue becomes. You see how the awareness narrows again? So the more and more consumed I become with trying to solve a particular problem, especially of self. This is why self-improvement is destined to fail, mainly. I mean, it's different than skills training. You can learn skills, you can learn a language, you can learn how to negotiate with people. Those are all valid things. These are what we call sanskaras, right? You can learn a new sanskara. Learn how to sell yourself, right? That's a sanskara. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about trying to change and fight with your emotional self or your false sense of self only further empowers it and further creates the focus on the problem. And this leads to things like, depression, anxiety, all of the things that we all experience time to time. And some people who experience it much more than others, they become, clinical, right? That's the definition of clinical, is everyone has anxiety, everyone has depression, everyone has, some amounts of these mood swings. If you're there for a long period of time, then it's clinical. But now we understand what the game is. So this is why I'm kind of pointing it out, that this is the drama. It's the internal drama. Your mind is creating an emotion. Whether it's fear, anger, whatever it is, it's just a creation of mind. If I obsess on it, I only make it bigger. It seems pretty obvious when I put it that way. I mean, when we're caught in it, it doesn't seem obvious. So this is the first, you could say, where Buddha would say, all of human suffering is just a simple misunderstanding. That somehow I've mistaken whatever temporary emotional state, whatever thought chatter in my mind is, to be real. When in fact there's no inherent reality to it. And that's why we meditate. So in meditation, we learn, right, by observation. I can observe my thoughts, I can observe emotion, um, and as I observe them, I notice they change. And those people who have done kind of intense, you could say, meditation camps, whether you go to like a 10-day Vipassana retreat or some other program, for a long period of time, you'll notice that over the course of that time, your mood will swing up and down, right? You'll have these highs, you have these lows, you have these highs, you have these lows, and yet the focus of any meditative technique during that time is to bring yourself back. Yes, there are highs, there are enjoyable experiences, and yes, there are lows during that time of why the heck am I here and not enjoying my life? Why am I spending it meditating here in Vipassana? Kind of thoughts and the aches in the body and all of that can be there. It can be pretty intense for some people. And then the beautiful, loving, open-hearted experiences can be great as well. But what you learn is that you're not defined by any of those. You begin to learn that this is what we call detachment, tyaga. Tyaga shanti, right? It's through tyaga, and this is what tyaga is. Tyaga has nothing to do with leaving your family, leaving your wife, becoming a monk, wearing a certain color cloth. Tyaga has to do with letting go of the seriousness of your own ideas. So this is tyaga. And that's what the practice of meditation is. And in a practical sense, it's practicing again and again. And there's no failure in this, and there's no success in this. I can always be trapped again. Even if I think that, what I love is the stories of Narad, right? Narad Muni and those people who've known the stories. I'm not going to tell the story because it can take too much time, but Narad Muni many times, has claimed that he's gone above lust, he's gone above this, he's greater than this, and it's based on, how much sadhana he's done. And yes, he's achieved a good deal of tyaga. But what the wonderful stories of Narad Muni teach you is even he gets trapped. So, there's no success in meditation and there's no failure in meditation. You can have experienced states in which the mind completely shuts off, you have total oneness, and the very next moment you could be caught in some trivial issue. But through continual practice, each one of those becomes less and less binding. So there's a continuous practice of tyaga. So when an emotion rises, when you start to you feel that feeling, right? The confusion, the overwhelmingness of it. You may get lost. Okay. Then there'll be a moment of choice. In that moment of choice, observe the emotion gently without trying to push it away, because whatever you resist, whatever you try to push away, will always persist. And that's not the goal here, to push it away. is just to simply see it for what it is. So observe it with some gentleness, with some compassion. Some loving kindness. All of these techniques help at this time. Just observe with these different attitudes. And if observation doesn't help, if loving kindness towards yourself doesn't help, and the softening doesn't help, then I would say at that particular moment in time, surrender to it completely. And those who are devotional can say, God, I'm completely confused. I have no idea what I'm doing at this particular moment in time. I'm overwhelmed. This is actually Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1. Arjuna at that particular moment says, Krishna, I don't know what I can do. Let me surrender to you completely. You help me out. Tyaga, Sharanagati, which is surrender, are both wonderful techniques. And more than techniques, they're actually wonderful truths. You are always surrendered, because the truth is you were never completely in control of your life. You just had socially acceptable control syndrome. Some of you may have socially unacceptable control syndrome. We call those people control freaks. And then, on the other hand, you are actually never attached to anything. It will all leave you. Okay? So I'm emphasizing attitude. Sometimes a little bit of attitude, a little bit of knowledge helps to let go of things when they're difficult. Just to remember that it is just thinking, it is just feeling. Focus on the feeling, letting go of the thoughts. Use an attitude of curiosity, an attitude of compassion. Without trying to push anything away. Allowing it to be. And if it's really overwhelming, surrender to it. Okay? And more, let go of the idea of perfection. It's also an illusion. Okay. With that, let us practice. Okay, simply sit. Eyes open, eyes closed, it doesn't matter. I want you to trust your body completely in this. It is about time you begin to trust yourself. Everyone in your life, well, many people in your lives have been telling you what to do from the outside. very few of us learn to trust that voice inside. So now take a moment and just sit. Sit in the silence. Sit with that quiet attitude of curiosity, of loving kindness, of compassion. And just observe every part of your body, from head to toe. Just scan your body from head to toe. Notice any points of tension in your body. And just give those points of tension a little bit of attention. Just observe those points in the body that appear to be tense, tight, heavy, without trying to change them. Just observe them. And just allow them to be. Surrender completely to whatever sensation comes up, to whatever emotion comes up, even to whatever idea comes up. Allow it to come and allow it to leave naturally. If you get lost in thinking, just notice that you were lost, and notice how the noticing at that particular moment, you're no longer lost, because you're noticing the thoughts, the emotions, and sensations. And just observe them again. And allow them to move naturally. With a natural intelligence. Surrender completely to that. Just relax. Notice the silence that's always there. Notice just notice. Just notice everything. Without trying to hold on to anything or push anything away. Just notice. If your mind gets lost for a little bit, drifts a little bit, just notice it. Notice how noticing it brings it back. And just continue to notice everything with that beautiful, loving curiosity. That deep appreciation for this experience. Just notice. Notice it all. And allow it all to be. If at times things seem a little bit too distracting, just notice what happens if you shift your attention to the breath. And just focus on the breath as an anchor. See what happens as you just observe the breath for a moment. The moment you observe the breath, whatever you thought had you trapped no longer has the power over you. Just observe the breath gently. Just notice. Quietly observe. Just notice. Just sit, fully awake and alert. Okay, slowly, very slowly, open your eyes, relax. Okay. Any questions with regard to this technique? Okay. We have about, well, we can do something really quick. Some quick techniques. So if you're looking for, it's a situation where you're very agitated and you want to bring yourself out of that agitation. So there's lots of energy. So in that, actually, you can transform the energy very quickly through prana. And in many ways, many of you are already familiar with many of these techniques, and that is, for example, Kapalabhati. Kapalabhati, you basically use the abdomen muscles, exhale. If you have issues with high blood pressure, heart disease, generally with Kapalabhati, you shouldn't do the Kapalabhati very quickly because it can hyperoxygenate, it can strain your heart, it can aggravate your high blood pressure in the short term. So those people who have those uncontrolled conditions should avoid quick Kapalabhati. You can do it slowly. So we're going to do slowly, you just do like forceful exhalation. And then naturally you'll come to a rest. Don't forcefully hold at that point, but just allow the breath to hold. Now, if you're in good health and you're agitated and you're looking for kind of a release to that, then I would say what you want to do is quick Kapalabhati. You can just do it very quickly. So let's all practice together. And we'll do less than 20 seconds. So come in agitated, angry, or whatever. Forceful exhalation, don't worry about inhalation. Sitting straight, that's important. Posture is important in this. Exhale quickly. And stop and hold. Allowing the breath to stop naturally. And move naturally. Now just relax in the open space created by this particular technique. Relax and enjoy that deep sense of connection with a grateful and open attitude. Just rest in that openness. The immense spaciousness of consciousness that's always existed. Be completely open with a grateful heart, appreciating all of it, all of this experience. Just sit with a deep sense of openness of loving appreciation and a grateful heart. And enjoy the experience. Okay, with your eyes closed, slowly bring your hands to your chest. We'll chant the closing prayer together with an open attitude towards everyone, that may everyone be happy, may everyone be healthy, and may we help each other. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashchit Dukha Bhaveet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Whenever you feel comfortable, you can open your eyes, relax. Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Chetanji.
Thank you.